Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by 10 seconds of silence to be with us. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to start this affair with the swearing-in ceremony. Oh, we're doing roll call first. That's even better. Let's do that. Let's do roll call first. All right, Lauren.
Commissioner Bigelow?
Present.
Commissioner Bond?
Present.
Commissioner Wilson? Present. Commissioner Hosberg? Here.
All right. I guess the next matter is the swearing-in ceremony, which is going to be led by Randy, I believe. Yes. All right, we're going to start with the Mayor Commissioner, Denise Hosberg.
Do you want to do it up here, Mayor, or down?
I feel like this should be much more ceremonial. You shouldn't.
Typically, we're down.
Let's do it down there.
Sorry, Victor.
I'm going to make you adjust your camera again.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Denise Hosberg,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States,
of the United States,
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
and the city of Indian Rocks Beach,
and the city of Indian Rocks Beach,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and of the charter of the city,
and of the charter of the city,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of Mayor Commissioner
the duties of Mayor Commissioner
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
on which I am now about to enter,
on which I am now about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead, Nick.
So you kind of had an open book test, but now you know. You'd stand and raise your right hand, please. Please, I state your name.
I, Janet Wilson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the government
the Constitution of the government
of the United States,
of the United States,
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
and the city of Indian Rocks Beach,
and the city of Indian Rocks Beach.
that I am duly qualified to hold office
And I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and of the charter of the city,
and of the charter of the city,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of City Commissioner
the duties of City Commissioner
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
on which I am now about to enter,
on which I am now about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Madam Commissioner. We made sure to have the ceremonial audit presentation real quick for you. Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Chief Brown,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States,
of the United States,
of the state of Florida,
the state of Florida,
and the city of Indian Rocks Beach,
and the city of Indian Rocks Beach,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and of the charter of the city,
and the charter of the city,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of City Commissioner
the duties of City Commissioner
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
on which I am now about to enter,
on which I am now about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
All right, Denise. It's all you.
I get to take it away. So now we're going to have some discussion as well as vote on the appointment we're going to make tonight for the next commissioner to serve on this panel. Does anybody want to discuss up here the candidates that have already applied, or would you like to continue on to vote?
I'm ready to vote.
Vote.
I'll vote.
Okay?
And for the benefit of the public, there was a special meeting at 4 o'clock during which the members who applied gave presentations and public comment was taken. So with that, please, you should have a ballot in front of you. Please sign your name to it and make your selection as instructed. And we will pass them to the clerk who will read them aloud.
So
We have 2 votes for Elizabeth Flynn.
Can you read them by each member, please?
Oh, of course.
Thank you.
Janet Wilson, Elizabeth Flynn. Denise Hausberg, Elizabeth Flynn. Jude Bond, Elizabeth Hope Wyant. John Bigelow, Timothy Dunphy.
So by your vote, no single member has achieved a majority of the seats. If you give me one moment, I just want to make sure I'm viewing your charter properly. I believe that the vacancies are filled by a majority of the council. Apologies, I had this pulled up in the in closing my screen. I lost that for a moment. So ordinarily, it is a city commission vacancies are filled by the city commission, as explained previously in other contexts. And so in that context, it says vacancies, the office of the commissioner shall become vacant on death, resignation, or removal. Here we have resignation by virtue of member Hausberg's resigning to run, and filling of vacancies requires that the commission by majority vote shall appoint a qualified person. At present, you do not have a majority. We can do a second round of voting if you wish, or you can have some discussion if that may facilitate the result, but you will need a majority vote to appoint the vacancy. And it is ultimately this commission's role to do so in your sole discretion.
are either one of you prepared to change your vote?
I am not.
No.
So
Are either of you prepared to change your vote?
No.
No.
if you'll give me a moment. So as a function of what you can do here, you do have a few options. You can continue to discuss it, notwithstanding the positions you've taken. You can choose to not fill the vacancy based on your inability to reach a majority. You could draw lots and say you prefer to handle it that way. Ultimately, it is your role to fill the position. I would suggest against drawing lots in that the way your charter reads, it provides that a vacancy will be filled by a vote of a majority vote. And so I would suggest that if you cannot achieve a majority, then it may be the direction of this board, or this commission rather, to leave the vacancy open. And again, that language is coming from section 2.2, sub D, sub 3, which reads in full, filling of vacancies. If more than 45 days remains of the unexpired term at the time the vacancy occurs, the commission by majority vote shall appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy until the next regular election. If the vacancy be that of mayor commissioner, which it is not, we need not read that. And that's really all that pertains here. So it is appointed by a majority vote, and if you cannot achieve a majority with the 3 candidates, 3 or 4, I think it's 4 candidates before you, then we would simply not fill the vacancy. Ultimately, that is a decision this body should make. I suggest you perhaps have a little more discussion to determine how you want to proceed in light of that information.
Like we would never fill the vacancy?
Not never. So, as I sometimes joke, we don't make mistakes, we make amendments. You can always revisit things at a future date, but for purposes of the meeting this evening, we need not sit in quantum indecision for, hours at a time if we cannot achieve a consensus or a majority vote. And so, if the matter cannot reach a majority, it fails, as it would with any other ordinance, for example. Obviously here you don't have the binary choice of pass or fail the ordinance. You have more than one option, but if you cannot achieve a majority, then you cannot take the official act. And so ultimately, if you wish to discuss it, fine. If you don't and you're all resolute in your position, then I would suggest that we move on in the agenda to whatever other action may be suitable on, or otherwise set forth on the agenda this evening, apart from any swearing in of a candidate, because none will have been selected.
So we will just push this off into the next month's meeting?
I don't know about the date certain. Potentially we could do it next month. And again, one thing I will caution you, as I've seen experienced in other communities, if you have 4 people who have applied, they have asked to be appointed, they've interviewed, they've given you your time. There's nothing that obligates those same 4 people to be considered in the future if they don't wish to, meaning if they wish to withdraw from any extended process. I don't know, we could talk about whether you were seeking to open another qualifying period or just wish to meditate or ruminate on it further, however you choose to proceed.
Can the 3 of us talk about it to see if we can change somebody's vote?
All 1 of you, all 4 of you can talk about
I mean, we have 4 good candidates.
Let's try to do it now. I mean, we don't need to push this thing back. We need to do it now. We need to get somebody. If we push it back, it's just going to keep getting pushed
Right,
back.
I agree.
it. Please, commissioners, as you can see, we do have a lot of guests tonight. Please make sure to talk on the microphone. It also makes the minutes much easier. I moved back so you could see each other better.
Well, let's talk about the 3 candidates that were voted on here. We have Tim. I believe he's a viable candidate, not only being an attorney, but he also is very involved in ordinances, how to protect businesses. He can read through a lot of litigation type of stuff that ordinarily can be pretty dry reading and understand. I think Tim would be a good asset to who we already have as the commission and the mayor right now. That's my feeling. He's a professional. He's been in the area a long time. That's my feeling on Tim. Hope is a great candidate. She's been living in Indian Rocks Beach for a long, long time. She's done a tremendous amount of work, not only with her own business, but in the community also. She would be a good candidate. Same thing with Beth Flynn. So between the 3 that we voted on, I mean, that's my feeling about Tim, and one of the reasons why I don't want to change is rules and regulations, and that's right up his alley. That's what he's been trained for. He went to school for a long time
And that's why we have Randy.
yeah, but we don't have to pay Tim. So,
Not as much.
not as much, absolutely, not as much. So, I mean, that's my feeling. What do you think?
Well, in the absence of an election by the public, my first inclination might be to go to the person who, for many years, of course, a number of these people have been consistently involved for many years, but somebody who's actually run a campaign and run for election in this city before, and came very close to winning back then, if I'm not mistaken, 2017? So it's been quite a while. I'm pretty secure in my decision, and I think it's based on a long history of knowing the person's participation in the city and the community. And while I admire the participation of everybody else and don't want to take away from that, that's kind of where I'm sitting now.
Would one of you two change your vote if I changed my vote? That way we could resolve it tonight?
So if I change my vote to Hope, you'll change your vote to Hope?
I'll change my vote.
So we can get to a consensus.
Yes.
Because Jude's not moving off of the square.
I mean, I'm just sitting here.
So what I see is we already have 2 votes for Beth Flynn, but you guys are trying to talk us out of our 2 votes we already have.
No, I'm just stating my position. I'm
Well,
not
which
talking to
doesn't give
anybody.
us consensus.
Yeah, but that's, okay.
Let me put it to you this way. If you change your vote to Hope, I'll change my vote to Hope. And that leaves 3, majority.
What do you think?
My only concern is the amount of time, which was my question to Hope during that, because of the other positions that she holds.
Well, I'm semi-retired, I did last year, but I still hold a lot of positions in the company that I still own, I have somebody running it for me. Hope has grown her young children here and has been able to juggle a lot of things with her own business and the job she does at the restaurant. I think she would set aside time to be able to donate as a city commissioner. It's not like it's every day. It's one day a month, and then there's other things you have to do, don't get me wrong, but I think she has, I think she would be able to fit it into what she already does. Because I think we need to figure this out tonight. I don't wanna do another round of this stuff again. So I'm willing to change my vote from Tim to Hope. If you change yours to Hope, and we can get this thing moving along. And then we have another election in March. I'll be running in March in a year. So there'll be other opportunities for other people that want to run as a candidate. So that's where I am with it. What do you think, Denise?
I really think one of you needs to change your vote to Beth.
Well, I already changed it once. I'm not going to change it again.
Men are so stubborn.
I fail to see how you're getting less stubborn.
That's where I am. I could change it to the other candidate too, but I'm gonna go for Hope.
Or you can put this on. I know, John, you want to resolve this now.
I do. I mean, we don't need to just have piles of government stuff that we have to revisit.
That's what we do.
Reworking, let's streamline some of it though, please.
So 2 and 2, what do you want to do? Boys aren't moving off square.
Mayor, you need not commit if you feel that ultimately you can run another poll if you want to, do another vote if you wish to do that rather than, just see where we stand on by paper vote in a second round. Our incredibly prepared clerk has second sheets for us if need be. So if you wish to run another round without having to commit to what you write, you can do that as well. And when I say mayor, I mean for all four of you. I'm speaking to you as the presiding officer.
They're both good candidates. They really are.
I think I'm going to let it ride.
Meaning let's have the vote or something else?
I don't think we'll come up with a different vote other than 2 on 2.
I think we should at least try, Mayor,
Okay, let's try it.
procedurally, to make sure that we don't leave that undetermined.
Oh, different colors too.
That's all right.
Yes. You'll have the rainbow by the time we get done.
Still the ninth.
It's getting longer.
Jude Bond, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, Commissioner Bond, Elizabeth Hope White, Commissioner John Bigelow, Elizabeth Hope White, Mayor Commissioner Hausberg, Elizabeth Flynn, Commissioner Janet Wilson, Elizabeth Flynn.
By your vote in this round, you have narrowed it from 3 candidates to 2, with Elizabeth Flynn and Elizabeth Hope Wyatt being the 2 receiving votes. Neither have achieved a majority. Tie vote meaning, again, that nobody has been appointed. At this time, it would be for the body to decide whether any future voting or discussion would be fruitful, or if you wish to move on in the agenda. But at this stage, you have yet to achieve a majority to appoint the vacancy.
I feel I was pretty flexible. I think we need to have a little bit more flexibility up here.
Not quite a pin, but thank you.
Thumbs up.
Beth, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to change my vote to Hope Wyatt. So now we have a consensus.
For purposes, given that this is an appointment of the, given that this is a formal appointment of a member of the commission, I would recommend we do this by paper ballot again
Okay.
for the 3rd round of voting.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Take them both.
early morning.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Janet Wilson, Elizabeth Flynn, Mayor Commissioner Denise Hausberg, Hope Wyant, Commissioner John Bigelow, Elizabeth Hope Wyant, Commissioner Jude Bond, Elizabeth Hope Wyant.
By your vote of 3-1, Commissioners, you have appointed Elizabeth Hope Wyatt to the vacancy to serve the remainder of the unexpired term from Commissioner Denise Hausberg's term. With that, if Commissioner Hope Wyatt could come forward to be sworn in. Sorry, Victor. Hi. If you could raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Elizabeth Hope Wyant,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States,
the Constitution and government of the United States,
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
of the city of Indian Rocks
of
Beach,
the city of Indian Rocks Beach,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
and I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and of the charter of the city,
and of the charter of the city,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of city commissioner
the duties of city commissioner
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
of the city of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida,
on which I am now about to enter.
in which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Let's move on.
Welcome, Hope.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We will move on to the presentations. The report of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office.
Good afternoon, Commission, city officials, and citizens of Indian Rocks Beach. I'm Corporal Mark Reeves of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. I do apologize, I don't think you have the city report that has been completed for the month of March yet.
Okay,
I believe that we will have that to you by the end of the week, early next week. Be more than happy to take any questions and answer them to the best of my ability. If you have any.
well, you know, it's been a busy month, right, for you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
It's been some parties, there's been some accidents, there was even a lady that got hit out in front of a Cookie Coconut.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
There was, we did check, she does not have any major injuries.
okay,
The open house party that we handled, that was
yes.
on my shift. There was about 200 kids there. We did get the Airbnb to evict them almost immediately, in
Okay.
a couple hours.
Was that somebody hosting a party and then selling it back to those kids?
It was a Airbnb rental for like 3 sisters,
Okay,
and one of the sisters posted on social media. She was 16, and it got
Okay.
a little out of hand, because it just kept getting shared.
okay,
We had that quelled and handled, I think it was within 2.5, 3 hours.
okay,
And we had a couple other auxiliary incidents that popped up, just juvenile troubles with kids on the beach. They were just moving around the city until we were able to get them out.
and then was there another pedestrian incident down by the 17th Park?
That I'm not quite sure, ma'am,
Okay.
off the top of my head. I can work on that information for you.
Does anybody else have?
It was posted about that one, the one higher north, it was the same day as the
Yeah,
other one.
you're right,
Yeah, I never saw any follow-up on that.
I'll work on getting an answer for the commission.
okay. Anybody else have any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the report of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
My name is Chief Stumper. I'm with Nelson Coast Fire Rescue. Chief Davidson is out of town, so he sent me to, but he did prepare a little list for me. So we're good.
Nice.
I believe he did send you the report via email.
That is correct, it's actually in your agenda packet.
Okay. Basically, the month of March was a record high for fire and EMS calls, and that's partially because of due to spring break. We ran 76 emergency medical calls and about 14 fire-related issues. We did staff an additional rescue for spring break to try and compensate for some of the calls. We obtained a transport vehicle rescue from the county, which we're going to utilize staffing as a episodic staffing to fill that as we have them. We did purchase our own. We got one from the county, but we do have another one that's going to be delivered in September. We moved forward with the purchase of land on the northern end of Indian Rocks. That'll help, cut down response times and, get to you sooner. We plan on having one advanced life support fire suppression unit there with 3 firemen. And we did purchase a jet ski with a rescue sled to help in the aid of Marine units for Marine calls.
Okay.
And our firefighters and paramedics have completed 902 hours of fire and EMS training for the month of March. And I don't know about the incident on 70 that.
Okay. Maybe it went unreported.
It's probably there.
It was on
We've got
Facebook,
it.
so we always assume it's
I'm
real.
sure we got it, but I didn't pull it, so I don't, I didn't know.
Would you ask Chief Davidson, I know that he wanted to put out more information about riptides.
Yes.
And I'd like to get his content on that to add it to our new website.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I have a question too.
Yep, you got it.
Can you tell us anything about the incident with the paddleboarder on 6th Avenue?
That's the young man, right?
I don't know how old he was.
Yeah, he's a younger gentleman that passed away. I can do the HIPAA stuff, other than he was out paddleboarding, for one reason or another, he went under and they were unable to recover him right then.
Okay, thanks.
There you go.
Anybody else have any other questions?
No.
No, ma'am.
Thank you, you guys do a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Next is a really exciting presentation of the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023 by Jeff Wolf, CPA with MSL.
I should have started with this.
Hi,
Thank
Ben.
you, yes, good to see everybody again, it's very exciting. In the world of audits, I think no news is good news, so this will be a little repetitive, but that is a good thing. But so before I get started, I just wanted to thank you for allowing us to serve you as your external auditors. We work for you and we do really appreciate you. So with that, I'll go right into it. I'll be brief, respectful of your time, but if there's anything you'd want me to dive in deeper, please feel free just to interrupt me and ask me questions. So first, we're required to communicate certain things to governance as part of government auditing standards, and this slide covers that. That's first being our responsibility as your external auditors. Really, mainly that is to issue an opinion on whether your financial statements are materially correct. That is really the main purpose of the audit. Management responsibility is to establish internal control to provide reasonable assurance that those financial statements are correct, and ultimately take responsibility for the financial statements. They're not our financial statements, they are the city's, they are managed financial statements. We do test internal controls and compliance, however, it's really just to help plan our audit. We do not test controls enough to render any opinion, but if we did note stuff, we would disclose that to you. As always, no difficulties encountered during the audit. There was no unusual accounting conventions, meaning there's no transactions that weren't in accordance with GAAP or other auditing standards. No disagreements with management. As always, Dan and the team is very helpful and very cooperative, and it's really a team effort that goes into getting the financial statements done. Lastly, there was no audit adjustments. I think that's always important to note, meaning the the trial balance we started with is what we finish. So, as you request that financial information, you can take some assurance that you're getting, quality information, which is important. And then lastly, we completed the audit in accordance with the schedule provided to you in our planning letter. So right on to our reports, and again, this will be repetitive. First is our independent auditor report. This is our report on whether your financial statements are materially correct. We had an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance you can receive that your financial statements are correct. Next is our report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. And again, this is our report that, we're not rendering an opinion, but however, as we test payroll, make sure, employees are being paid the correct rates, making sure disbursements are following proper policy and procedures. If we noticed any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, we would note that in this letter. But again, no compliance, no finding issues noted. Our next report is our independent accounts report, and this really just relates on compliance with Florida statutes as it relates to investments. And again, no compliance, no finding issues noted. Lastly is our Auditor General required management letter. This letter does several things. First, it requires us to report on the financial condition and any financial emergency that the city may have. Obviously, you're in great financial condition, so there's no issues there. And if we had any other recommendations set for improvement that didn't quite meet the level of the internal control report, we would report that here. But again, no findings, no issues noted. So with that, I'll briefly just touch in some high-level financial information. This is your city-wide analysis, meaning if the government was like a business. This is full accrual, all your capital assets, any long-term liabilities. I think that the number on the governmental activities, which represents your general fund and your governmental funds, the number to point out is your unrestricted net position as a percentage of total expenses. This is your ability to meet any unforeseen emergencies or general operations. So this is 79.1%, which is a very strong number, down a little bit from last year, 88%, but again, a very strong financial position that allows you to meet anything that could potentially happen. On your business type activities, it's 27.7, down a little bit from last year, which was 45%, but this was really just due to a purchase of a garbage truck that moved that number from unrestricted up to capital assets. But overall, I think the takeaway is, from an entity-wide business-like standpoint, a very strong financial position. The next is your general fund. This is your main operating fund. And again, I think the important numbers to go to is that assigned, unsigned fund balance as a percentage of total expenditures. Again, this is your ability to meet any emergencies that may come up or any unforeseen expenditures. And so you're 124% compared to 118%. So again, very strong numbers, really no issues at all as it relates to your general fund financial position. And lastly is just a comparison of budget in your general fund. You'll see your revenues came in about 0.7 million higher than budget. And half of that really is just your investment income. You budget conservatively for investment income, but as the rates change, you're able to earn about an extra $350,000 compared to budget. And then your expenditures really came in right in line. So overall, you had a favorable variance of 0.8 million compared to budget. That's really all I had planned on covering, but again, it was a very successful audit. The city remains in strong financial position. But any questions on the process or the information, I'd be more than happy to answer that for you.
So you are now completely done with your audit?
Yes.
Great. Dan will sleep well tonight. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
So thank you.
No, sir. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next, we are moving on to public comments. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comment or concern that may have regarding any matter over which the City Commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the City Commission shall be made to the City Commission as a whole, not directed to any individual City Commission member, and no personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall occur between the speaker and the city commission. Does anybody want to come up? Hi, Scott.
Hello, Scott Shapiro, 2032 20th Avenue Parkway, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. First of all, congratulations. Thank you for coming to consensus. Thank you for not leaving the vacancy open. That would have been like Congress, and we deserve better. So thank you again. Appreciate that. Old business. You know, I'm kind of curious what happened with the New Year's Day Christmas tree burning. Never heard anything else about it. I heard rumors that, you know, some locals were involved and acted poorly towards our deputies, and I just want to know what's going on, or has it ended? New business. Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to talk about the letter N. And what word comes with the letter N? It's not freedom. We are officially in the no business, the city of no. This past week, well, I should say this past week it'll be 23 years that I bought my first house right back here behind City Hall. And this week, 6 no parking signs appeared on that street with 3 houses. There's only 3 houses on that street, but 6 no parking signs. I don't get it. Now granted, in 23 years, we have coal park activities, we have garage sales, but I can count on one hand how many times I've seen people park there. Now I can't park in front of my own house? That is not due process. You guys are taking my rights away. And if and when I get a ticket, I'm gonna fight it, and I'm gonna make a big stink about it because I can prove selective enforcement of ordinances and codes have been happening here for a long time. We had a no shark fishing ban forever. It finally got lifted, removed. Nobody enforces the boat ramp. It's supposed to be residents only, but contractors and business people use it, and they tie their barges off on city property. They don't get ticketed. So I don't want to get ticketed. I should be able to park in front of my house. My friends, my family should be able to park in front of my house, and that's unfair. And I want to know, since it was never discussed amongst you all, who made this decision? How did this happen? You know, are we suddenly going into no parking sign business? I mean, I want to hear discussion about this tonight. A lot of times in 23 years, you come up here, you talk, you guys have nothing to say, you have no answers, you have no feedback. I want to hear something. I want to hear who's responsible, why did this happen, what is the justification? Don't take my rights away, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Does anybody else have any comments?
Good evening, John Pansfield, 448 Harbor Drive South. Congratulations to the newly elected, newly appointed, and our new mayor. And by the way, I agree with Scott, the way you handled this tonight. The appointment was very professional and very pragmatic, so congratulations for that. I've been asked to read something from Susan Gibson. She wasn't able to make it here tonight. She's with Friends of the Library, and it's about an upcoming event. It'll be brief. And she wants you to know that the library is celebrating 50 years this year. On Thursday, April 11th, they're having a gathering at City Hall at 5 p.m. She wanted to thank Greg Mims and his team for offering to make the auditorium festive for this occasion. They'll be having cake and punch, and she wanted to invite the commissioners, mayor, and the public to attend. And that's this coming Thursday at 5 p.m. She goes on, our library serves an important role in our community. We have programs for children so they can grow to love reading, which is important to good education. However, there is something for everyone, even if you want to read on an e-reader. The theme for this event is based on the children's book, Chicka Chicka Boom, and we hope that it'll be a fun event for everybody. After that, though, she's hoping people will further support the library, especially for this 50th anniversary. In 1974, when the library started, the most popular children's book was Where the Sidewalk Ends. We intend to have a display at the party to help us promote the sidewalk brick program for the library. A memorial brick can be purchased for $100 and will benefit the library programs. You can also support Friends of the Library by becoming a member for $10 a year or a lifetime membership for $100. And of course, there's also opportunities for volunteers. So anybody who's interested in supporting the library can stop by for more details. And Janet, we thank you, and hope to see you there. That's all I have. Again, congratulations to all.
Thank you, John. Is there any other public comments?
Evening. Bill Robo, 112 13th Avenue. Congratulations, folks. Look forward to coming to meetings. A couple of quick things about On the Beach. Do the sheriffs use the gator at all? Are you guys using the gator at all? I'm sorry, I meant to ask.
On the night shift that I work, my firemen use the gator, I have no actual Tahoe.
Okay, because we, on the beach at sunset, dogs running loose, not just at sunset, anytime. People will come, let their dog run up and down, seen them go towards people, start barking. It's getting worse with the vacationers here. 11 and 12-year-olds flying down the street in the golf cart to go to USA Grocer, because you wouldn't want little Johnny to ride his bike or skateboard or anything like that, so let's get him a golf cart. And I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen any of them get pulled over, any of them stop. I've seen them driving on Gulf Boulevard in the bike lane without license plates. I mean, I realize we're a golf cart community now, I have no problem with that. But when you have your kids running wild on golf carts, it's not a good idea. One last thing, I know they can have electric bikes on the beach. Electric motorcycle. Just about every night when I go to Sunset, there's an electric motorcycle. You can tell the difference between an electric bike and an electric motorcycle. And this motorcycle is just whipping back and forth every night. So I hope we can get some enforcement on that. I know they're very busy, especially now. Spring break's kind of over, I would hope. But, we still have people here, and we're going to have them, but they might have to put maybe an extra one on a Saturday or a Friday night for the sunset, for the dogs, and for, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? I'm closing the public comment, and we will move on to the reports of the city attorney.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. As we sit here on April 9th, we are about 1 month post the end of legislative session. Last week, you should have received a memo from my office, pardon me, on some of the legislation we've been tracking more closely relative to permitting, ethics complaints, and other related issues. Each of those that were in the memo, as best when I last checked yesterday, we're still awaiting the governor's signature. The same is true of Senate Bill 280, the bill that would regulate or preempt the regulation of registration for short-term rentals. That bill passed both chambers. It has not yet been sent to the governor. Just a little bit of exposition of the process, the legislative process in Florida. As we talked about repeatedly through session, a bill must pass both chambers in identical form. As it relates to Senate Bill 280, that happened on the second to last day of session. Then what happens is it has to be sent to the governor, which might sound like an automatic thing, but it is not. There's a ceremonial element to it, but a bill is transmitted from the legislature to the governor's office. Once it's transmitted to the governor's office, the governor has 15 days to sign that bill. If the governor doesn't sign it, some of you may remember from the 90s the term pocket veto. It is not a pocket veto, it's a pocket approval. If it doesn't sign in 15 days, then it's deemed signed. But during that 15-day period, the governor has the ability to sign it on the minute he gets it, or veto it, or take some time to think. That bill has not been transmitted yet to the governor's office. The other fun little quandary about the legislative process is there is not a set deadline by when that has to happen. Traditionally, bills are transmitted during the month of April on the late end because a lot of bills have an effective date of July 1 with the start of the new legislative calendar year. And so usually they're transmitted at April, late end May, so that they can be timely signed. Last year, I believe, because of the volume of bills, there were a few that had not even been signed yet into June. So there was not the same volume of passed bills this session as last, but suffice to say there are several bills still awaiting transmission to the governor. You can track that on the legislature's website as well as the governor's website. But as I last checked this morning,
in the afternoon, I've not seen Senate Bill 280 be transmitted. That said, we do have the litigation brought against the city. There are 8 separate actions, individually and separately challenging the city's short-term rental ordinance. Those have remained in abatement while the parties explore amicable resolution. With that in mind, I am requesting a shade meeting because I wish to have your advice concerning that litigation. We will separately discuss calendaring that, and the clerk will coordinate with you as we also wish to calendar the availability of litigation counsel, not just me, but your litigation counsel. So pursuant to 286, Florida statute 286.011 sub 8, I am requesting a shade meeting. You will receive additional correspondence. There's a lot of moving parts to not just the settlement process, but this particular kind of litigation where we're not talking about trading numbers. You know, I've been damaged to this amount, give me a number. We're talking about potential policy solutions. Of course, that would have to, I want to be very clear when I say that I'm talking about a shade meeting, especially for the benefit of our newest council member. You and I will meet separately to talk about the ways your life has suddenly changed. All of them have enjoyed this. It's one of the most rousing parts of being elected. But the ordinarily any business you do with any other member of this body, not 2 or 3, just one other member that concerns the city's business must be done in a public meeting. There are limited exceptions to that, one of which is to discuss litigation strategy as it relates to settlement and as it relates to litigation expenditures and settlement. In that context, we have the ability to have a meeting where we start here, recess to a private room with a very specific list of people who can attend in a court reporter, and we have a meeting to discuss that. If any part of that discussion concerns an amendment to an ordinance, that ordinance will still be heard on a first and second reading publicly. I want to get ahead of any Facebook or worse yet somehow next door narrative to the contrary. Any amended policies or anything would of course come before this commission in public hearing. It's to talk about, I need some general direction on how should we proceed based on our current posture. A lot more exposition than I usually give for a shade meeting, but I just want to make sure that's clear, especially since we have so many new faces. With that, before I end my report, I want to say congratulations to Hope Williams, right? Wyatt, sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner Hope Wyatt, to Commissioner Bond, congratulations on your election, and Mayor Commissioner de Hausberg, congratulations, and I look forward to working with you all in your new roles as you've been appointed and elected respectively. For me, it was an interesting time with Mayor Commissioner Kennedy's departure. I noted that was the last commissioner who was still on the commission from when I started. So it's an interesting time. I'm excited to work with a new complement. It's always great to have new perspectives and ideas, and I look forward to working with each of you. Thank you for the opportunity to be your city attorney.
Thank you, Randy. Now, who's giving the city manager report tonight?
You're stuck with me, Mayor, but
Okay.
I don't really have anything to add to what Greg provided in the packet, but I certainly will try and answer any questions that you have based on that or anything else I'm able to.
Does anybody have any questions?
I do not.
Let me out.
You're getting off easy tonight, Dan.
I'll take that, thank you.
Not me.
Okay, go.
And now it's time for the reports of the commission. Jude, do you have anything to report tonight?
I do. I have a whole list of things. It's a rare opportunity.
Okay,
I have
take it away,
a
Jude.
laundry list of things that I wanted to discuss. I think a lot of things that people mentioned tonight are items that we can address over the course of the next year. I think they're pretty much, it's pretty low-hanging fruit. Golf cart safety, cigarettes on beach, e-bikes on beach, pedestrian safety. All of these things are matters that we can sort of approach one by one, and I think sort of get knocked out in a way that everybody here, at least I'm going to say 3 out of 4 will probably be fine with. So I'd like to spend some time doing, because we got really sidetracked by a lot of extra stuff over the last year,
Yeah.
and missed a lot of opportunities to do things that are also necessary. Paid parking, can we do that this year?
I love it.
I think it's up to you.
So, I know we have a workshop on that soon, so that's, other than that, oh yeah, here's another thing that was brought to my attention, and this is something I've discussed with RV very casually, and that he brought up in another meeting prior, is I was approached by a group called Dune Savers that has activity in St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island, and they have a crew of volunteers that goes out and basically manages dune safety, not safety on the dunes, but safety of the dunes, you know, extracting grasses that are invasive, that sort of thing. And she was a number of people recommended setting up a similar sort of volunteer group here, which I think dovetails with something that RD had said a couple of months ago. We should probably have a volunteer group in place to address the health of the dune system. And this is at least a good opportunity to talk to some people who've already been doing it in other places successfully. So they're called Dune Savers, and I'll bring you more paperwork on that.
Okay, great.
By the next meeting. And I think, oh, and the only other thing is these dang turtle lights. I want to make sure that our turtle lights are consistent with turtle recommendations. All the turtles tell me that they're a little bright on our beach. So I would just like it if there's some sort of body that can come down and take a look at it and see if we're really actually as compliant as we say we are. So
Is there such a body, a turtle body?
I mean, anecdotally, what they tell me is they're a little bright. No, I'm assuming that the people up at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium are somehow equipped to tell
Okay.
us what their recommendations are, or some other solution.
I believe they do a traveling, pun intended, dog boating show, but they do have a presentation or at least educational materials. I've seen them circulate, and we can certainly work with the city manager to get you those materials.
Yes, that was most of the stuff just off the top of my head, but it's really basic safety stuff. Oh, water advisories too, with all of the new visitors, dangerous waters, recent tragedies. I think that we should consider some sort of water advisory system for visitors so that they're a little more aware of the possible dangers that they may or may not be facing depending on the climate conditions du jour. So I think it's my 3 minutes, but thank you everybody, and thanks for letting me be here.
Thanks, Jude. John, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome Hope, and also Janet, Denise, as our new mayor, and Jude.
Thanks, John. You're like the only old guy now.
Yeah. So, I brought a lot to the table this evening, and I've kind of said it all, so I'm kind of done for tonight. I'm looking forward to working with everybody up here that I haven't worked with very long, and our new mayor, So, it just shows you that we can be flexible up here, whether we think we are or not. So, anyway, thank you.
Thanks, John. Janet, what do you have?
Well, I think everybody knows that the legislative issues is my kind of interest. And so I would like to request to be the Florida League of Cities Conference representative in the August conference this year from our commission. And I've talked to Greg about the desire, if we need to go up to Tallahassee, that I'd be more than happy to do some things there also.
Great. Hope, what would you like to report this evening?
Well, first, I would just like to say thank you. I would like to say thank you to the commissioners for appointing me, and I just want to make a promise to everyone who lives in Indian Rocks Beach. This is my home, and I will do my absolute best to represent every one of you in the most fair way that I possibly can, and I will put all of the work in, I promise. So, thank you.
Thanks, Hope.
Yes.
Well, this is my first official night as mayor, and I would tell you I prepared a very long speech, but I did not. So that's so boring. But I just want to thank everybody that came tonight to see the swearing in. I want to thank my family, my friends, my neighbors, my Indian Rocks Beach friends. Thank you for coming tonight. It's really been a wonderful event. So now let's move on to additions and deletions. Do we have any additions or deletions? Not having any additions or deletions, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Randy, would you read?
Happily, Madam Mayor, there are 5 items on the consent agenda this evening. Item A, resolution number 2024-02, a resolution of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, announcing the results of the March 19, 2024 general municipal election for the mayor commissioner seat and 2 city commissioner seats, each to be seated for 2-year terms and providing for an effective date. Item B, approval of March 12, 2024 city commission meeting minutes. Item C, approval of rescheduling the June 11, 2024 regular city commission meeting to June 4, 2024 at 6 p.m. Item D, the proclamation to recognize April as Autism Awareness Month. And item E, to accept and file the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ended September 30, 2023. These are the 5 items on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Randy. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I will second the motion to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing. Randy, would you read?
Happily, Madam Mayor, we are going to conduct this as a quasi-judicial proceeding. So in that context, you are not making the law, but applying the established law to the facts and evidence presented to you this evening. This is for ABT 2022-2024, 1309 Gulf Boulevard, Grove Surf and Coffee, considering a 2 COP alcoholic beverage use designation for beer and wine by the drink or in sealed containers for consumption on or off premises where sold, for Grove Surf and Coffee, located at 1309 Gulf Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Indian Beach, re-revised Block 30, Lot 23, and the north 1/2 vacated alley adjacent on S per official records 1063/1579. Before we proceed, will anybody who intends to offer any testimony, including city staff or the applicant or any of their agents or anybody else who intends to speak on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. With that, the process will be that the Madam Clerk will do her presentation just concerning the staff's review of the application. The applicant or the agent, you'll then have an opportunity to come forward. We'll open it to public comment. At any time, the commission may ask questions. We will open it to public comment or any additional testimony. And then staff will make any closing statements it has. You'll have the final word on your application, and then the commission will proceed. Before we begin with the staff report, I do wish to make one thing clear. A previous version of the agenda inadvertently listed the word liquor. That was not the application. That is not what is being sought. It is beer and wine by the drink or in sealed containers for consumption. So if you are looking at a previous version, commissioners, that references the word liquor, that is not what is being sought. And that should be disregarded and used the stricken through version before you now. So with that, Madam Clerk, if you present on behalf of staff.
So we have the applicant, Peter Goshling, in March, dropped off an application for 1309 Gulf Boulevard for Grove Surf and Coffee, applying for a 2 COP alcoholic beverage use designation for beer and wine only. Staff, you do have the agenda packet and the application. I gave you the amended version. And staff does feel that their application is compliant.
Thank you.
With that, are there any questions for staff on the application?
I don't believe.
No.
Sorry, I didn't ask you.
Yes, no problem. Absent any questions of staff, if the applicant could please come forward, applicant or your agent, please come forward, state your name and address, and now's your opportunity to explain what it is you're seeking and anything else you wish for the commission to consider as it considers the application.
Hi, Commission, thank you for having us. My name is Peter Gochling, my wife.
Lindsay.
Welcome.
Thank you. We currently reside just over the bridge here in Largo, Florida, but we've been
Could you actually provide your exact address?
currently 13936 106th Avenue, Largo, Florida, 33774.
And wonderful, one other thing, if you could just speak into the microphone, because the poor clerk later has to write the minutes and it makes it a lot easier.
So yeah, we're super excited to be part of the community. We're hopefully just a few short weeks away from being opening, but we'll be breakfast and lunch, coffee, cafe, full espresso service, and then also would like to offer beer, wine, and like aperitif cocktails, and maybe eventually get into a little bit of an evening menu as well with some tapas and stuff down the road. But yeah, that's kind of our goal. I'm trying to bring, some great coffee and good service to Indian Rocks.
We currently have a location on St. Pete Beach,
Yes.
so this is our second, but we live out this way, so we're excited to be a little closer to home where we know the territory a bit.
Yep.
Well, welcome, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
I do not.
I presume you have beer and wine then at the other location?
We do not.
You do not?
We do
Oh.
not. No,
So this would be a,
This is a slightly different concept for us, so our space out on St. Pete Beach is half coffee shop, half retail surf shop. So where we're not doing the retail aspect here, we'll have a full kitchen here where we don't do that there, we just do pastries. So here we're gonna have a full kitchen offering breakfast and lunch and then beer and wine.
and surf shop next door.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually worked at Necton
Oh, did you?
for the better half of 11 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Quite a while.
Yeah. So they're good friends of ours.
That's all.
No questions for me.
No.
Questions? You may have a seat.
Okay.
Thank you for your information. Would anybody else like to make a comment? We're opening the floor to public comment. The public comment is not, we do?
I'll say something.
Okay.
Sir, I just have to swear you in. Do you swear that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Thank you. If you just state your name and address for the record.
Scott Shiro, 2032, 20th Park. I just want to say I'm glad to see it's not a bar. I'm glad to see it's not a Gruber sandwich or pizza place, and it's something new. So please help them succeed.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No? Thank you. We'll now close the public comment.
Madam Clerk, anything else to add?
No.
The applicant would get the final word if you have anything. I know it's been a long time since you got to speak, but is there anything else you wish to add?
Not this time. Thank you.
So with that is for the body to deliberate and determine how they wish to proceed.
I'm ready to make a motion.
I second the motion.
Why did you
Some
make the motion?
motion needs to be made.
Whatever it is.
I move to approve a request for an alcoholic beverage use designation to COP beer and wine by the drinker in sealed containers for consumption on or off premises where sold for Grove Surf Coffee located at 1309 Gulf Boulevard, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, with the following stipulation. Repeated or intermittent nuisance activity and or unlawful noise levels originating from the establishment or the parking area may result in the revocation of the alcoholic beverage designation.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any comments from the,
I'm curious. So now are we voting on it with this stipulation?
Yes, that is the motion to approve it with that stipulation, and traditionally with each COP application, that is a condition placed on virtually every single one that has come forward. It is no fun. I'm the lawyer for the man, that's my job.
I guess you can have it then, Janet.
Hey, I only read.
any comments, Janet?
No.
Okay. John, any comments?
No comments.
All right.
So let's take a vote, okay? Commissioner Bigelow,
I favor.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wind,
Yes.
and Mayor Commissioner Hausberg.
Yes. Motion passes. So we move on to other legislative matters, and Randy, you get to read again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first resolution, you have two legislative matters on the agenda this evening. The first is resolution number 2024-03, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, appointing a member of the City Commission to serve as vice mayor commissioner and providing for an effective date. So typically the way this is done, you have in your materials a template resolution. You would nominate and traditionally you'd nominate and approve as a commission the vice mayor position, and then that name would be placed on the resolution and move to approve with so-and-so as the vice mayor, and that's how we typically handle this.
So do we do that at this time?
Yes, now is the discussion of vice mayor.
Okay, I would like to move to appoint Janet Wilson as the vice mayor.
So just procedurally, the mayor is expressing a desire to have Janet Wilson serve as the vice mayor. The mayor cannot make the motion while she presides over the meeting, but is making her, her preference noted.
I think it should be Jude. He's been on the commission longer and he's already served as vice mayor. That's my opinion.
John?
No pressure.
Well, while you deliberate, let me just explain, because again, we do have new members and public. The role of the vice mayor is, and I don't mean this derisively, largely ceremonial. The role of the vice mayor is to serve as the presiding officer in the absence of the presiding officer, whether they are physically absent or otherwise incapacitated for some reason. You would assume those roles and duties. That is the totality of the commitment as vice mayor and the role.
Well, Janet did say that she would go to Tallahassee, and I'm going to vote for Janet.
Jude?
Janet's fine.
Janet, congratulations.
What we will need is a motion to approve the resolution identifying X as the vice mayor. So that is the motion I think that would be most appropriate at this time.
John, do you want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve Janet as vice mayor.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Before we take a vote, we do need to go to public comment, as it is an official act of the body.
Does anybody want to make a comment on the noted vice mayor? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. Take a vote.
Okay. Commissioner Bigelow?
Janet.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
I guess yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Commissioner Hausberg?
Yes.
By your vote, you have unanimously passed Resolution 2024-03, appointing Councilmember or Commissioner Wilson to serve as the vice mayor. The next resolution on the next agenda item, Madam Mayor, is item 11B, Resolution 2024-04, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, appointing a voting delegate and first and second alternate voting delegates to represent the City of Indian Rocks Beach at the Barrier Islands Governmental Council, Big C, meetings and providing for an effective date. Again, as context, as we have new members, the Big C is sort of an interlocal entity among the island communities here on the beach. Typically, most often, though not exclusively, the mayor is the primary attendee, and then you have a first and alternate who would go if the mayor is unable to attend. But in most contexts, it is an opportunity for the various beach communities who are similarly situated to discuss matters of public concern, or hey, here's the issues we're having. Sometimes bring presentations of businesses in the area and other things, but to discuss the needs, desires, issues specific to the Barrier Islands communities. And so that is what it is, and what we're looking for is who will be designated in each of those roles. To make it cleanest, my suggestion is first you decide who your primary delegate is, then you decide your first alternate, then you decide your second alternate. And then we pass the resolution based on the general consensus on that, with those as the move to approve subject to the appointments discussed, to make it clean. That would be my recommendation, but again, it is your meeting, so as you wish to proceed, Madam Mayor.
Well, don't I take the role at the Big C as the mayor of Indian Rocks Beach?
Typically, yes, it is the mayor who goes as the primary delegate,
I'm
which
the
is our
voting
second.
delegate.
Yes, typically it is the mayor, and then you have the first and second alternate.
Okay, so who wants to be the first alternate?
I'll do it since I go.
Yeah, Janet goes all the time. Who wants to be the second alternate for the Big C meetings?
I'll do second.
Okay, Judith's second.
And I wish to make very clear the meetings of the Big C are open to the public and any one of you alike, so even if you're not appointed as an alternate, you're free to attend. You may just not have the joy of sitting at another dais. The meetings are commonly in Madeira Beach, though not exclusively.
And it's really pretty.
So with that, the general consensus, as I understand it, is to approve the resolution with appointing Mayor Hausberg as the delegate, Commissioner Vice Mayor Wilson as the first alternate, and Commissioner Bond as the second alternate. So with that, we would need a motion.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Want to go to public?
We'll open that up for public comment. Does anyone have anything to say about the voting delegates for the Big C? No public comment? Public comment is now closed.
Let's take a vote. Commissioner Bigelow,
I approve.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Mayor Commissioner Hausberg.
Yes.
By your vote, you've unanimously approved the resolution as stated, and that concludes the legislative matters this evening.
That was going to be a lot more exciting now,
So,
We also
What you get for having hope. All right.
moving on to the work session. This is a discussion on establishing the appointments of electors to serve on the Charter Review Committee.
So to be clear, what we are having at this stage is a discussion. It's a work session item. We're not doing that process
Okay.
yet. I would like to, I believe I was handling this one, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You sure? Because I've spoken plenty. So tonight, what we want to introduce is per your charter should be reviewed no sooner than 5 years, no later than 10 years. We're coming right up on that. It started, the last time you did a charter review was around February, March of 2014. This would actually be the first time a charter review had happened during my tenure here. And so with that, the way your charter reads in section 15.4 sub A, the City Commission shall appoint a charter review committee no sooner than 5 years and no greater than 10 years, beginning in January 2014. The City Commission, by resolution, shall establish membership, appointment, and procedures for the Charter Review Committee. So what we're going to discuss tonight a little bit is what that resolution will look like. But before I ask you what that should look like, I do want to give you some context first. I was kind enough to have a colleague with the Florida League of Cities prepare some materials. I don't have the presentation up tonight. I will email it to you after tonight. But just to go through the materials, all charters are unique. There's really no two identical charters in the state. There are provisions that are common. Chapter 2 is usually administration. Chapter 1 usually has your boundaries. But how those read are very different. For example, as we talked and we've talked in some length in this community about the appointments of vacancies. Some communities simply have vacancies shall be filled by the commission. Nothing else. Yours is very detailed, which is good because when we found ourselves in the predicament that we did, a lot of other communities had no guidance. And yours had guidance all the way down to if you only had one member left. And so it's great to have that kind of detail. And in the intervening 10 years since your last charter review, your charter, the communities and society has changed. Even whether it's, vacation rentals has been an issue, manatees, all kinds of things come up in those intervening 10 years. None of those may necessarily concern the way that your charter governs your business, but it helps you to understand what is the direction our community is going, and do we have things in our charter that no longer serve us or are possibly even holding us back. There's about 411 cities, towns, and villages in the state of Florida. All of them have a charter. So our goal is to discuss a little bit of charter review roles today. Understanding first that your charter is your constitution. It is the charter itself restricts how we operate, and then your code of ordinances typically restrict how everyone else operates, how the city governs. But it should set forth a little bit of your vision, mission, and structure for your municipality. explains how you'll be elected, chain of command, what is the purchasing power. I'll tell you, that's one thing I've seen a lot of communities review, where your department heads or city manager used to have purchasing power up to $5,000. That might get them out of Publix right now, not get them through a construction project. So, looking at, are those holding us back from daily operations? Typically, you want to keep your charter short, 8 to 10 pages once it's all printed out, but it should be a concise document that governs how we operate. It doesn't set forth all the granular detail. There are some things you can't even have in a charter, especially by operation of law. Land development regulations can no longer be embedded in a charter. So part of that process is going to involve guidance both from your city manager and from my office as you have that charter review committee and their recommendations that will come back to this body. You're going to be looking at not just what do we want to do, but what can we do. Some things sound like great ideas in the abstract, and then that Constitution does this pesky thing where it gets in the way. So understanding that process. The role of your citizens in this process is of course crucial. Your citizens, residents and property owners, the representation of the public, the ability to weigh issues and understand what are the concerns. Your typical charter in terms of content typically has your preamble, your boundaries, legislative body, form of government. The charter officers, so my position, the clerk's position, and the manager's position are your traditional charter officers, to the extent communities have them of this size, and it defines not just what their roles are, how are they appointed, how are they removed, who do they supervise, do I report to Greg, do I report to you, does he make a recommendation on a clerk and you approve it, all different things that you see in different charters. It also typically addresses how a charter is amended. The way that this will work is the Charter Review Committee will meet, and we'll talk about this, but over a few months, they will come up with a list of recommendations that will in turn be presented to you, and then you will decide which of these should we move forward with, and then ultimately the electors have to approve those. It goes out to a vote in your next election as an issue election, and then we proceed from there. You folks have a commission manager government, so of course your charter must reflect that. It already does. Some communities have done that transition more recently, so you find some imperfections. Sometimes those roles have changed. I will tell you, I've seen charters that say the chief of police is the chief traffic engineer and HR officer of a community in a charter. You're like, but that's not what the cops do anymore. Maybe we should fix that. So if you want to look at those sorts of things as far as how things go. Just to give you a little bit of comparison for your community, your population is estimated to be around 3,700 by this chart I have here. Of course, that might be different. You have a council manager form of government and 5 seats. So some of your peers in that regard around the state, as you travel the state, communities that would be considered peers based on population, form, and council seats would be Melbourne Beach, Fort Myers Beach, Ponce Inlet, Crystal River, Port St. Joe, Juno Beach. Madeira is your closest comparator in Pinellas based on those factors. Highland Beach and Indian River Shores, which is up in Indian River County. So those would be some of your comparators as you look around based on size. And so just some factors to consider. You do not have your internal police department or fire department, so that makes some of your charter provisions that you'd be looking at different. But as we talk about the actual charter review process, you are going to be appointing representative citizens. These are public meetings, just as we talked about earlier, Commissioner. These will be public sunshine meetings. They'll be noticed. Minutes will be taken. The public will have the opportunity to comment before official acts are taken. So you are encouraged to get that public participation in that process. It is not typically done as a line-by-line read-through where you just go, do we want to change that word? Do you want to change that word? We will have some guidance for you or for your charter review committee, both from the legal side on here's some of the stuff that's changed in jurisprudence of the law or just by statute. Your manager saying, hey, I've noticed as your manager these past 10 years, this is some ways the charter has helped, some way that it's hurt, and things that we can do better. And ultimately, again, those materials will be published and a referendum will occur. The goal is, again, to have a concise work product that will be presented to you. So as we talk about that concise work product, your charter reads that you will appoint them by a resolution. And I'm sorry, I know it's a lot of talking, but I want to make sure you have this detail. Your charter is a very important document. You last did this in 2014. And in the resolution where you did that, the way they did this last time, and this is just to give you a frame of reference, you folks are in charge of how this process happens. But there wasn't and you will do so by resolution, because that's what the charter says. The resolution last time contemplated that each member of the commission appointed a member of the charter. So it would be like Jude gets his appointment, John gets his appointment, sorry, Commissioner Bond, Commissioner Bigelow, Mayor, Commissioner, you'd each just appoint somebody. And that's how it worked last time. You may wish to just solicit volunteers and pick, much like we did this evening. Hopefully with a little more streamlined, but something like that. So you can go a few different ways in that regard. The members of the committee, based on the way this worked last time and the way the charter reads, they have to have their first meeting within 30 days of being appointed. They will appoint their own chair. The chair will help coordinate and call meetings, and by their resolution last time, they said they must meet at least once a month during that process. You may wish to say at least once a month as needed, or if deemed necessary, or more than once, whatever you wish to do. 3 out of the 5 members constituted a quorum last time, which is pretty standard, a majority. And they were not compensated. They were held in the public hall and open to the public, which you can't change. But the biggest thing I think that we would be looking for is how would you want to go about the appointment process so we can structure the resolution appropriately, and if we need to solicit volunteers versus you folks individually, again, not coordinating with each other at all, individually finding somebody that you think would be best suited to serve. That's however you wish to do it. So that's the purpose of the Charter Review Committee. That's what a charter does, what they'll be working on. And ultimately, again, I want to be clear, it's an advisory body. They are doing the work for you as sort of like, we're going to vet this. You may have seen this also done as citizen advisory committees on other issues of special concern. So you could appoint them, they'll make a report, here's what we recommend, and typically last time the resolution explicitly provided that the city manager and the city clerk would staff that board. And that is a critical part, and both your clerk and manager are already aware of that. Someone from my office would be there as well. So with that in mind, the question I have for you at this time to workshop, and again, you're not doing it tonight, we'll present a resolution for you at the next meeting reflecting what you want, but to give us some idea on what you want in the resolution so we can present you a draft rather than bring you a draft that you didn't see. Say, I wish you would have told us, I would have had this done totally different. This is my only opportunity to talk to all 5 of you and get the guidance because I can't poll you. So with that in mind, it is your discussion to have, and if you have any questions about anything I said or didn't say, happy to clarify that as well.
How many pages is the current charter?
You know,
Is it
I
a
knew there
lot?
was a trivia question in here somewhere. So there are, I don't know how many pages it converts to. There are 16 articles, one of them is purely preserved. I can, in the meantime, I can download, oh, Madam Clerk, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's not more than like 30 pages.
Okay.
I'm downloading it right now in a Word document, and even the Word document you get from Unicode includes a bunch of extraneous stuff, like when each provision was last amended. So just doing that right now, Madam Mayor, with, again, all the extraneous references I stated, it is not the word count, not the page count yet, but I'll let you know in a moment once my browser goes. But in the meantime, I'll answer that as soon as it loads.
So you're saying in 2014, it was a 5-member,
Of electors.
Yeah, five-member charter review commission.
Okay.
And the way that they chose to arrive at those 5 people was each one of you picked a member of the community. Of course, they would have to be a voter, registered voter here. We couldn't just be like, I have a phone a friend, I know Obama, he's going to be on. It has to be somebody who is a registered voter.
And was that adequate? Did anybody feel like they needed more people to bounce things off of, or did they feel like that was an adequate number of individuals to do it efficiently and still get input?
I can tell you it got done.
Okay.
One of the challenges and I say that to say, one of the challenges you face and one of the ways this community has changed is you used to have people who were up here 20 years, 15 years. As I noted earlier, as we swear in Mayor Commissioner Hausberg, nobody who is on the commission now was a commissioner then. It happened right before Greg's term, right before my term. We both entered the city shortly thereafter. I know Dean's been here since, I think, before the city incorporated. I think he's been here. But, I mean, it got done. I'm not gonna ask the Public Works Director to speak to the Charter Review Committee, but it got done. And I will tell you that 5 is a pretty common number. It's usually reflective of your commission and allows you the opportunity to get the diversity, whether that be in the neighborhoods, the locations, the people, the background, whatever, that you seek. In trying to print this, it's 20 pages.
Okay.
I could email it right now, I've got it downloaded.
Well, what decisions do we need to make tonight on that charter review?
I would like consensus on how you would like them appointed. I think that's the most critical thing so that we know what to do, and it may inform, you know, what we ask of you in the intervening time. If it is, if it's your desire to proceed in the same fashion as 2014, then that's less work on the staff side because then we're not soliciting applications and things like that. It's either way is fine. It just defines the process differently, and it also defines how I structure the resolution. So what as far as placeholders that I need, that would be most helpful. The thing I would like to know the most is how many people do you want on this commission, and how do you want them selected or appointed? Because
I think 5 is an appropriate number. And that we each get to choose a member to be on the charter review, just like last time.
That's okay by me, sure.
Yes.
I can do that.
What type of person do you think we should look for?
A voting member in the community that's smart and can read words.
I'm not going to complicate this.
Thank you, Jude.
So it seems like you desire to have 5 members, each appointed by a member. That seems to be the consensus. If anybody feels it is not, please let me know. The one I want to be clear, the language in the charter says the City Commission, by resolution, which I'll prepare, shall establish membership, appointment, and procedures of the Charter Review Committee. I feel no reason to change the way that it worked in terms of them meeting within 30 days. One thing that provision had is that they needed to finish in 6 months. I will tell you, I'll be better prepared to tell you by the next meeting if for some reason that's shorter, and the only reason I would make it shorter is to find out what time, what deadline the supervisor of elections has to get it on election schedules. If we're doing this now, this will likely result with the process taking a few months. You're likely looking at this being on your March election next year. The last time we will not be done in time for the November election cycle. And if you had an issue election in March this year, your ballot language had to be to the supervisor of elections by like December 9th. So I'm just to manage expectations, as diligently as your charter review committee will work, anything that they suggest and you approve likely will not be put to the voters until March next year, just to manage that expectation. So unless there's any other consensus guidance, I have what I need.
Okay. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yes.
And I, to the extent you have people in mind or wish to ask your friends if they'd be willing to make their life more complicated by serving on a public entity, just again, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you, do not talk with one another or coordinate with one another outside of the meeting in doing that if you intend to do that between now and then. And we can follow up as to tell you whether or not we're looking for those suggestions in the May meeting or the June meeting. I think it's May, but that's the one other caveat. But that would conclude the work session on item A for me, Madam Mayor, unless any of the commissioners have anything else they wish to add.
I do not. Is there any other business this evening?
Good question. What kind of time commitment is it then for the people on this committee?
So if it operates as last time, they met about 5 times. The time commitment, it's hard to say because it really depends on what they do. I mean, it would be 5 city commission meetings, things that will determine how long it goes. Do they do the radical act of reading the materials before they come to the meeting? That will change it. If somebody shows up and for the first time they're seeing the language there, which happens, it changes things. How aggressive, the composition of people you get can change it, right? If you have some people who believe this is how they will revolutionize the government of your community, then it's a lot more work rather than like, hey, I think we can refine. So the standard lawyer, it depends answer, but 5 or 6 meetings once, maybe twice a month if they get aggressive about like, hey, why wait that long? Let's try and get through this. You know, that would be the big thing. The meetings, I will say, in other communities, it's not necessarily specific to here. In other communities that I've seen, some have been a series of 1-hour meetings, some have been a series of 4 or 5-hour meetings, just based on what they wanted to do. But in those longer ones, where not 4 or 5, like 2 or 3-hour meetings, those were the ones where they were like, no, we do want to go line by line. Let's do section by section and we'll go through it. So some of that will be determined by how the chair and body desire to conduct the process, unless you have anything you wish to restrict in their process, which you have the ability to do. So, I'm happy to give a series of more long-winded answers if you have questions.
Always call you.
Thank you, Jude. Do we have any other business for this commission tonight? Saying none?
None.
Does someone would like, someone?
I'll
like-
make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Awesome.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. Well, I mean, now that you can't say motion immediately.